course of shoring up and replacing what was destroyed here. It's a unique situation to have I-40 and I-26 both unavailable, and it's critically important for everything from U.S. supply chains to small mountain communities to get that back up. I'm very impressed by the work that I've seen on the ground, the creativity, the work ethic, and the energy that's going into restoring a critical link like this. We're going to do everything we can, starting with the $32 million that we have already advanced toward getting the first pieces of this work done. And I've committed to Governor Lee that we're going to do everything we can, and to the communities out here that we're going to be here every step of the way.
Okay, can you raise your hand if you have a question? Go ahead. Secretary, when will I-26 and I-40 be reopened, and can you explain how that's expedited?
Yeah, well, I'll defer to TDOT for the dates, although I'll say some of the estimates they've given to us. I've gone ahead and repeated in the White House, so no pressure. But in a matter of weeks, they hope to have the two-way traffic restored on what is obviously going to be a temporary arrangement while working on the permanent piece. I'll toss to them in a minute to put more details on that. What we're doing is taking everything we can offer by way of funding, by way of technical assistance, and by way of any regulatory relief that is needed to try to speed that process up. That's what the $32 million is for. That's the beginning, not the end of our emergency relief funding for this process. And we've got our Federal Highway Administration team working side by side with TDOT to make sure that they get any other support they need. It's everything from the slope stabilization that you see happening here just to shore this up, stop it from deteriorating any further, through to the vision for what it's going to take to have the 100% restoration that will be many months away. But anything else from the department you'd add to that?
Not really. As the Secretary said, we're working very closely day to day with our USDOT as well as our FHWA folks on the ground here, and it's going very well. We're making great progress. We do believe we'll be able to get two-way traffic one-way each direction here in the coming days and weeks ahead, and we're working on that not only here but also on I-26 also as well. And so just very fortunate to have the collaboration that we do have, and as well as with North Carolina, and all that's going very well. So,
Mr. Secretary.
Right here, and then we'll go to you.
Mr. Secretary, this is the most visited national park in the entire country, the most rapid river in the entire country, and a huge economic corridor here for getting people around for not only tourism but the goods that go through here. Talk about some of the economic implications to get people moving again.
Well, we've met so many people in the affected communities whose livelihoods depend on these roads and roadways being available, on the tourism that comes here. As a visitor, one of the things that I'm trying to reconcile in my head is the shocking devastation alongside the incredible natural beauty of this region. We're trying to make sure that there is support for those communities and businesses that are up and running and open for business, that people know that they are more than happy to receive folks. And then for the other areas where the businesses are not yet open or the roads are not yet secure, of course, our job is to do everything we can to accelerate that process because we know that so many families depend on that economy that revolves around the natural beauty and the visitors that it draws.
Go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, can you elaborate more on what the communication, the process will be like as redevelopment happens? Obviously, more money is going to come in, but can you give me some more details about how that communication will work? Yeah,
so we have our Federal Highway Administration personnel already on the ground. We've got folks who work in the state with their counterparts at the state DOT. They're working side by side to make sure that as those funds flow from headquarters, from Washington, that they can quickly be put to work on contracts that start with things like stabilizing these slopes, but then lead to the longer-term restoration. And along this route, especially when you look at the number of bridges that have been impacted and even destroyed, some of them will be restored just the way they were. Some of them might need to be restored in a way that looks a little different than how it did in the past. Those are exactly the processes that our teams are working to support. We're also going to need help from Congress, and my hope and expectation is that Congress will act in a bipartisan fashion to provide more of the funding that's needed. As I said, we've put forward $32 million to Tennessee and $100 million to North Carolina just so far, but we know that the ultimate price tag just on the transportation side alone will be in the billions, and we cannot get that done without help from Congress, so we'll be looking to make sure that that happens as soon as possible.
Back there.
Yeah, Secretary, when the damage is on this magnitude, just here on the Tennessee side, we have two major interstates that are closed in parts. How does your agency prioritize where money and resources is going to go?
Well, of course, getting these interstates restored is crucial. It's important for the economic lifeblood of the region. It's important for the other recovery and restoration activities. Hard to get to those smaller communities while these arteries are unavailable. But in addition to these two major interstates, there are hundreds and hundreds of roads and bridges, both on and off the national highway system. And so we take a cue from the state. We're not imposing the priorities on them. They're assessing based on things like whether there's redundancy or whether the route that's been compromised is the only one, what alternatives exist, how many people are depending on those routes. They'll work through those priorities, and we'll work to make sure they have the funding to meet all those priorities.
Thank you, Secretary.